We are now at our next session just before lunch. I hope you have your lunch orders ready, whether you're doing Wolt or Bolt or you're walking outside and grabbing something. Make sure you support your local restaurants. Great to have this panel now about alternative spaces, although as we'll find out, not so alternative anymore, especially given what's been happening. So I have a great set of guys here with me. So I've got Ricardo joining us from London. I got Sten from Tallinn, from his property, and I got Nico from Helsinki. So let's first do just a bit of round of introductions and a bit of background on the company as well. So Ricardo, let's start with you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Ricardo, I'm Italian actually. I've been living in London for about 10 years now. Started a company called Gravity Co-Living about 3 years ago. A co-living platform. We're based in London, as Hilary said. We started our first project last year in central London, and we just opened now 2 additional buildings in the Camden area in London. The plan is to build a global platform starting with Europe, and phase 2 would be Southeast Asia, and then eventually North America would be phase 3, targeting major business hubs worldwide.
Okay, great. Sten, let's go to you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sten and Estonian. So we started a brand called Hector in Estonia in 2015. We started them with a design hostel concept in Tartu, which it's a university town in southern Estonia. And now we just opened the container hotel this year in February in Tallinn. I think the worst year in 100 years to start a hotel, but it's a nice concept and we believe in it. We'll see what's happening in the future.
Great, and we'll come back to talking about the concept actually, because I think it's very interesting, especially for our market. And now Nico.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, so my name is Nico, co-founder of Bob W, which is a smarter, tech-driven alternative to hotels and short stay apartments. So we basically take the best of both worlds, best of the hotel experience, best of the short stay experience to create a new category of hospitality. We brand it into Bob W, an affordable luxury category hospitality concept. And under the hood, the whole thing runs on tech, so we don't screw things up. And I guess we operate in commercial properties in Helsinki and Tallinn currently, and expanding to the UK next year, as well as another 2 properties, which we will, another 2 markets, which we will publicize by this winter at some point.
Okay, great. So there's more news coming because you did a great round in June, and we'll come back to that actually. But maybe we'll start with you, Ricardo. We've seen such a big shift in the whole way people use spaces when it comes to co-working and co-living. So can you tell us a little bit about that sort of background? Because obviously that you operate now in this space and you're capitalizing on this whole movement of how the younger generation wants to live.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nowadays our main target demographic is young professionals, millennials in particular, and obviously we saw a massive trend in terms of what they're looking for. The main drivers would be, flexibility. People don't want to sign up on 12 months contracts or 24 months contract per se. They rather look for 3 months, 6 months. They want flexibility. They want an all-inclusive solution, especially mobile travelers and more mobile young professionals. They don't want to sign up to utilities, Wi-Fi, council tax, or whatever tax you're paying. It has to be all-inclusive. They really embrace community, and that's dictated by the fact that there's an epidemic nowadays in main urban centers, as in a loneliness epidemic. So people are really craving the community aspect, and that's really one of our main focuses at Gravity. But at the end of the day, also they're looking for an affordable product. So what we do at Gravity, we try and instead of taking massive spaces, we look at taking spaces and then subdividing them and offering small private spaces for our members, so that the product becomes affordable to them, but then eventually giving them access to large communal areas, whether inside the building or just outside the building. So our model, for instance, we have properties at the moment where we have communals within the building, what we call a purpose-built co-living model. But we also have more traditional residential properties. For instance, the 2 properties we just opened in Camden, and they're more residential led in terms of design. there's not really communal spaces per se in the building, but we're opening a commercial space between the two buildings, which will be accessible by all the members, and it will be used as a community hub for our members, effectively, to work from, to attend events, and all the different community aspects that we're working on. And I think there's a number of drivers that make co-living a very interesting opportunity for investors, operators, or even real estate developers. And I think it's the main driver would be urbanization in general. There's been a massive increase. They're expecting to have 1 billion people moving to cities by 2030, I think. So obviously there's a massive shift in that from that perspective. Flexible work pre-COVID, but even more so after COVID or during COVID, it's definitely a thing. So there's an expectation from employees, and I guess from employers as well, to allow employees to work remotely, not necessarily permanently, but giving them the flexibility of working both from the office and from home. So in that case, we think having a space which is designed around not just living, but also working, so giving good, comfortable space for people to work from at home is definitely a plus. And it's not just seen positively by employees, but also from employers, from a productivity perspective. So I think at the end of the day, we're also, if you look at the situation right now, we're really pushing productivity as one of the selling points that we have, because we really feel like people that are moving in with us, they have really all the settings to perform and being productive. So that's probably one of the main drivers. But then of course you have global mobility in general pre-COVID, and I think it will be the same post-COVID eventually. There's I think that there was a survey from, I think it was KPMG about global mobility among young professionals, and they're saying that about 70% of all young professionals globally want to have work abroad experience, which means they need to have suitable accommodation when they move, wherever they move, Hong Kong, London, New York, etc. They can't be forced to sign up on a 12-month contract right away, nor they want to pay hospitality prices when they're staying 3 months or 6 months or 9 months. So I think co-living, it sits somewhere in between the residential multifamily market and the hospitality market. And the market we're focusing on effectively, it's that 3 to 9 month stay, which is where we think there's not that much competition out there, and there's very strong demand.
And then coming to you, Nico, because I think if you are 3 to 9 months, Riccardo, Nico, you're in a slightly that shorter period, just kind of following that, right? And when we talk about alternative, not so alternative anymore, give us your views about that a little.
So first of all, following up on Riccardo's, like you mentioned, 3 to 9 months, we're from 1 to 90 nights is our thing. So having that flexibility. I think it's an interesting notion, the alternative accommodation space has really been sort of proliferated. If we look at it from this sort of, let's call it the Airbnb movement, which kind of opened people's eyes for vacation rentals, etc. Even though that actually existed a lot before the Airbnbs, it just made it a lot more accessible and for the broader consumer and the business. Now, if you actually look at the alternative accommodation, it's actually not alternative accommodation. It's starting to actually get mainstream. So if you look at in Europe, we've got about 6.8 million hotel rooms. And, according to the recent numbers, we've surpassed more than 4 million short stay, apartments, glamping tents, homes, beach huts, etc. So we really have actually not become an alternative accommodation, but actually this sort of proliferation of a whole new, a whole new sector of accommodation, which is a lot more broad. It's a lot more flexible than the traditional hotel, which is, stuck in its own formats or what have you. And, something like Bob W, as well as Riccardo's co-living and Sten's, the sort of the hostel and new real estate formats really support that kind of thing. So it actually, there's a lot of talk that we shouldn't be actually called alternative accommodation, but instead we start to be treating as a really going concern, which is the truth. At the same time, probably the reason why it is considered alternative accommodation is that it is hugely fragmented. So whilst you look at the hotel market, is about 50% branded, depending on what markets you go to. But broadly speaking, across Europe, you're 50% branded, and even a larger portion of that has a sort of well-defined quality standard to it, a 3-star hotel, a 4-star hotel, etc. Short stays, there is no quality ratings, and we're about 0.5% branded. So that means it's a mom and pop industry, and there's massive room to grow from that. And I think, and then you look at that, there's the other side of that ball, which is if you look at alternative accommodation as an asset class, there's actually, this is something that is barely tapped and barely become into the awareness of the broader, property development scene, is that because of this proliferation of accommodation classes are a lot more flexible, have different use cases for different people, spending different amounts of time and different needs, you're actually there's an opportunity to really start working with the alternative accommodation to fill these voids and these question marks that are around offices, around retail, and have been accelerated by COVID. And as a final sort of example, Cushman & Wakefield, suggests that office vacancies in Europe will be up from pre-COVID 5.9% to 12.3% in 2022. So that begs the question: what's the next asset class that's
going to take it
real
over?
Estate developers should be focusing on.
Exactly. Yeah. And then when we look at actually the Tallinn and Estonian market, I think what Sten, what you have done with your company is very sort of alternative compared to everything else on the market. So tell us a little bit about the story of Container and how that came about, and what was the thought process behind it about to bring it to life.
Yeah, it's if you think about it, it's not that alternative at all. It's still a bed where people can sleep during the night. But we just wanted to add everything we have here in the container hotel concept. We built the rooms from used shipping containers, and we created their environment around it, so people can really, the guests who come here, they feel it's something really different from the usual hotels that you're used to. And the usual, I mean, the medium guests, they are the same people that Nico and Ricardo were talking about, young millennials and people who are interested in different kind of concepts, and they can come here and they can explore the city. We are situated between the creative city and the old house, so it's a really good location to stay in. So everything comes together here.
Yeah, and I think it's especially some of the words that you all mentioned, is flexibility, affordability, and I think these are sort of the key ideas that have come from what the new type of traveler wants, right? And that's how the product needs to change with it. And I think in addition to that, I think technology, obviously, of having things on everything kind of work from that one device, that you don't have to do paperwork and go into multiple platforms to do check-ins or even see the properties. So maybe Ricardo, question for you, because you're more in the sort of long-term stay market at 3 to 9 months. So right now, for example, people can't do viewings and look at spaces the way we used to. So how do you get tenants? Are you doing virtual viewings? Is everything kind of run through your app, or tell us a little bit about the tech aspect of it?
Yeah, so in terms of onboarding, we do virtual viewing. We also do physical viewing. Luckily, we're allowed to. We've been doing 3D maps, 3D tours of all our properties, so that people have a better chance of looking at what it looks like without having to actually come to the property in the first place. So they might be more keen to book right away, right? So they're potentially bypassing the viewing completely. However, I wouldn't say that the majority of people are booking directly from that, but there's definitely bookings coming directly from the 3D tours. In terms of once people have moved in, they have access to a mobile application where they're able to communicate with other members, which for us is very, very important. They're able to communicate with staff and vice versa. So all the ticketings can be addressed through the app. So any issue related to the property can be addressed directly through the app by our property managers. And on top of that, you have a range of non-complimentary services through the app, for instance, room cleaning, laundry, and both services that we provide directly and services that we provide through third-party companies where we have partnerships with. So all of that is done through the app. Where we want to go going forward is we would like, well, where we started now working on matchmaking algorithm to have in our website, which is basically will be linked to the property management system. And the idea is that based on obviously moving dates and budget and so on, you'll have options in terms of what apartment or what room it's more suitable for yourself. But it will also be done based on interest. So, you know, because we have flat sharing as well, co-living at the end of the day, it's all about sharing spaces. We want to make sure that if you're living in a unit with 4 or 5 bedrooms, you're living with people that, you know, share the, you know, similar interests or, you know, have similar goals in life and so on and so forth. So that's something that we started working on. And then the next step would be, we haven't started working on this, but it's in the roadmap. This is more about having really understanding fully how the spaces are utilized and how utilities are being utilized by our members, to make sure that going forward, the design of the spaces is dictated by the data that we've collected to date, historically, as well as, you know, switching on and off utilities like heating and so on and so forth. If we see that people are using the heating at night, but they keep it on the whole day and they're away, then the idea is to make sure that there's no energy waste during the day.
It's really about efficiencies.
Yeah, so it's all about, you know, making the whole business model more efficient, to be more sustainable, and then eventually to have a better design as an ultimate product.
And Nico, when you talk about Bob W, you always mention how real estate, technology, and hospitality come together in this one product. So take us through the sort of technology side of it that makes Bob W what it is.
Sure. So I guess, you know, for us, how technology comes into play is we've managed to, in a way, get rid of the classic operational layer of the hotel. We've managed to elevate our cleaners into our, you know, quality assurance managers. They are also the guys and girls that fulfill our apartments with the physical things that needs to be done. They also, you know, give us tickets for maintenance issues, etc. So we you know, we basically have managed to take this approach where we are able to manage the entire property just by empowering our cleaners to make that happen using technology. And as a result, so, you know, then on the consumer level, we've been really managing to do this sort of chat-based communication where 95% of the outbound communication is automated. So to split into what we call the Bob bot, which is a clearly automatic stuff, and then customer-based chat, which is still usually automated as well. The basic, the obvious, there's a very obvious time when you know, something automated can be sent, like you entering the apartment for the first time. Hey, what's up? Are you having a 5-star experience? If anything's short, let me know. But when you answer, there's a real local professional, you know, hospitality professional that's a real hipster that is within a 5-minute walking distance from your front door and able to serve you better than the traditional front desk. And from that standpoint, we actually, as a business model, we do not have shared spaces. We don't have a gym. We don't have a front desk. We don't have a breakfast, you know, cafe. What we've got is instead we bring, through technology, through the advent of the phone, we bring you the neighborhood to the life. So we've got hipster cafe, you know, we've got.
So you go have cafe at Hector.
Yeah, well, why not? And so we've got a fixed price breakfast and two options for you to, amazing curated options in the neighborhood. We've got a gym. It's within 500 meters. And if all of us who've stayed at Airbnbs and the short stays, the Booking.com apartments, etc., we've recognized that magic of living like a local and authentic. And what we do is we bring that neighborhood to life, because I can assure you my breakfast ain't that great. So as a startup, you want to do, and as a hospitality provider, you want to do what you do best and do as little things and do those as well as possible, so you can really become successful in that. And in our case, we recognize our customers, our demographic, the 20 to 45-year-old urban middle class, wants to live like a local, wants to explore the neighborhood, not just stick around in our ecosystem. And so we provide that with technology. And meanwhile, that customer service, which is extremely empathetic and personal and quick and reactive, but it's just not a physical front desk downstairs. And so those things combined with running an autonomous back of house, which is really empowered by the cleaners, so that in a way, the rest of the team, we don't need to raise our butts unless there's a thing that we need to react to. And that really means that, we can run 50 apartments with one host, and, we're ranked across the board, close to 9.9 out of 10 customer satisfaction, etc. And we're really loved by our guests. And we are able to do that because, again, we utilize technology and we have an in-house tech team that we build this stuff so that we can actually do things at scale without fail. And that's what hospitality is, doing a lot of little and a lot of big things right without fail. And that's what we deliver.
Well, I hope a lot of, I know we have a lot of different brands who have signed up for these forums. So I really hope you take the Nico's words to heart, and because you can really see how technology is such a game changer for a product. Sten, question to you. Obviously, again, Tallinn has more what I would call traditional hotels and maybe that don't embrace certain things as much as they should yet. Would be interesting to see you opening a new hotel just now, how much technology kind of came into it, and what are the kind of main key points for you on that?
Yeah, well, I think that the hospitality is changing at the moment, and it's really important how personal can you get. As Nico described, they're using technology to get personal. We have a great team for that. So we believe in physical contact and explaining and hospitality in that sense. But we also have automatic check-ins. Our guests can come and check in using the technology. But I really believe that the hospitality at this point and the COVID situation is accelerating this really, really hard. It's more about the personality. How personal can you get? And if you can use technology for that, as Nico is doing, is great. But you need to get personal. And I think that's one thing that's going to change. And even from for the big chains, hotel chains, it's the question for the future. How do you solve this one? How do you get personal? How do you help your clients? Not just giving them a bed to sleep in, but you help them around. You give them the local knowledge and you really get personal. So,
yeah, and I think that's very, very much kind of bouncing off from what Nico and I think also Ricardo were saying, is that bringing that sort of personalization and empathy aspect, but utilizing technology to do that and drive that, so that you still have a person at the end of it, right? But you will know so much more about your customer by the time they arrive, whether it's the matchmaking that Ricardo was talking about, so you know how these people should live together and why they should be together in these one unit or one flat share, and what's not, to just this single traveler, right? So as we're coming to the end of our session, guys, good talk to you about so long of this. So kind of get your last thoughts. Let's start with you, Ricardo. We want to look to the future, to a brighter future. What is kind of your immediate and medium term actions and goals? I know you've just opened and are opening new properties. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, we were quite positive, to be honest, on the future. We, as I said, we as you said earlier, we just opened 2 new buildings. We saw an opportunity really to expand at the moment. Demand has been quite constant. We didn't really have massive dips in demand or occupancy per se. We think that overall the demand for co-living will be increasing going forward, and that's going to be dictated mainly by three things. One being urban loneliness, which is something that a lot of people have experienced during this pandemic. And I think, you know, the craving of community is going to be stronger and stronger from young professionals. So that's one driver. Second driver would be simply like flexibility of work. As I said, you know, there's more expectations both from employees and employers to have a more flexible approach towards the workspace. So we expect people not to work completely remotely, but to have the possibility of working 1 or 2 days a week from home or from a co-working space. So we think, you know, that's going to drive demand for spaces like what we have at Gravity. And then ultimately, I think it's about productivity. It's about productivity because we feel like, yes, a lot of employees love working from home, but at the end of the day, I think productivity can be affected by that. And that's not just me saying that, it's something that, you know, I've been reading quite regularly later from, you know, financial magazines and so on. So I think that's something that employers will want to tackle. And even though they want to offer the possibility of flexible work, they need to make sure that when they do that, employees are actually performing the same way they would be performing when working from the office. So I think, again, having a space which is tailor-made for you, not just to live there, but also to work from, it's what not only employees will want, but also employers want from their employees. So overall,
that's your game plan.
Yeah, very positive outcome, in my opinion.
Great. And Nico, looking into the whole real estate game, and obviously that's the space that you're operating, bringing this sort of hospitality knowledge together with technology. What are you working on for the future?
So, I mean, I think Bob W, we're bullish about the future. During COVID, we've managed to have, you know, occupancy that's been 3x compared to the average hotel space. So we've been very fortunate to fare really well from this. So we recently raised a 4 million euro fundraising round from including NREP, the largest private equity real estate player in the Nordics, and Kamos, an Estonian player, as you guys know. So we have been focused on expansion, because if we can do this well during a Black Swan event, we will knock it out of the park when we get out of this place. So we will get out of COVID-19 sooner or later, all of us. But so we are on track to expand, to sign 1,000 units by the end of the year. And by units, I mean studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. We've got multiple new properties signed in both Helsinki and Tallinn. A new market, London, which we will tell more details on shortly. And we will also announce 2 additional markets by this winter. And meanwhile, we're hiring for technology and for operations as we expand and further create a better experience for our guests.
Well, thank you, Nico. From you, I always get so much positivity for the future, because you're like, no, we're going to get out of this. It's just go, go, go. So it's good to hear that. So thank you for bringing that energy to us as well. Sten, Absolutely. For you, obviously, it's a tough time because you've just opened before everything went to lockdown. So you just want, obviously, people to come and experience it so you can build better and see what's in the future. So what are kind of your immediate things that you're focusing on right now?
We're staying positive. We also believe that it's the COVID thing will get past from it. And at the moment, it's just building up everything. For us, it's just building up. We started from zero, and at the moment, it didn't scale as we hoped. But we have a great team, and our hospitality quality is to the max at the moment. So I believe that this is the thing that wins in the future, and we take it as personal as we can get. So,
wonderful. I like that messaging that the hospitality will be to the max. I think that's definitely something that we're all looking forward to. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today at the New Baltic Hospitality Forum virtual. I hope to see you soon in person when we do this event for the third time, and fingers crossed that we've learned from this situation and that we can come together in some format already in the spring. But for the meantime, I wish you all amazing luck in all your projects, and thanks again for joining me.
Thank you very much,
you.
Adrian. Thank you, everyone. See you, Nico. See you, Stan.
All right, I've
Thank
just
you.
turned off the live
Thanks.
stream. So thanks again, guys, and you know, see you around, and I'll hope to come visit your places. So Ricardo, I'll ping you because I'm in London, obviously. So I would not like.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
see
definitely. Let me know
your
anytime.
openings. Absolutely.
Yeah, let me know when